Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I am so excited to have you here with us today because, as usual, we have an amazing guest. This is Laura Conley, and she is really an expert in so many things, but she teaches women how to take control of how they feel about their bodies, the way that they think about fitness and eating and all the things to where it's really manageable. And this brought up a really good topic for really just teaching this to our daughters and doing it in a healthy way. And so, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I
Yes.
love you so much.
I love you too.
So excited to be here.
Yes. And I didn't even say what it's called, but will you give us, I gave the very shortest version, but will you tell us just really about how you came to be interested in this and the Yummy Mummy and just where it all started for you?
Yeah, totally. So I've been a coach for over 12 years, and 7.5 years ago, I had my daughter, and the story goes that I was butt naked out of the shower, and I caught myself beating myself up for not bouncing back into my pre-baby jeans fast enough, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I had this kind of wake up call out of body moment where I was like, oh my God, this is so unhealthy. This is so effed up. I'm going to pass this down to my daughter, who was in the bathroom with me, because they go everywhere with you at that point.
Oh, yeah.
She's cooing up at me in her bassinet. And I vowed in that moment to heal my relationship with my body and food. And I did want to lose baby weight. I did. I just wanted to do it in a healthy way. I was out over starving myself in order to lose weight. And prior to that moment, I had really accepted defeat. I thought, this is just going to be my thing. I'm just always going to be yo-yoing. I'm always going to be struggling with this. I'm always going to have the food chatter and a love-hate relationship with my body. And in that moment, I was like, no, I have to be able to figure this out. And so I went on a journey to figure it out and got a couple of certifications, used a lot of my background in mindfulness and psychology to pull into what became the Yummy Mummy method. And I sort of had a similar experience. Once I had healed it for myself, I was like, oh my God, the same kind of level of conviction came over me. Where I was like, we have to free all the moms, not all the moms, but a lot of moms, a lot of women are trapped in diet culture and are living the life of, yes, body hate, body shame, tons of food chatter, food noise, never getting to where they want. And so I had that same level of conviction of we have to solve this for everybody who wants this, because it's not necessary. We don't have to accept defeat. There is actually a solution to this, which still feels honestly miraculous because I struggled for so long. So that's kind of how the Yummy Mummy experience was born. And after I solved it, I decided to completely niche down and let go of all of my other regular coaching clients and just coach on food freedom and weight loss and body love and all of that. So that's kind of how it was born in a nutshell.
I love that. And I think it's so common for so many women and especially moms to, once you have a baby, we all know your body changes. And as you're getting older, your body changes. Things do not look the same as they used to. And there is that moment where, I know I've avoided looking in the mirror when I've been butt naked, getting in and out of the shower. And there have been times where I'm I know I'm bloated. I know I'm going to tear myself down if I do this. So I'm just not going to look. And at the same time, that's not really
Yeah.
healthy either. But it's like
Yeah.
from a young age, we learn some of these things from, like, my mom struggled with her weight my entire life. And she always wanted me to be healthy. And I was always, we didn't really have a diet culture in our family, but my mom was, though, on diets all the time.
Mm,
Like, and she would, like I said, like you were mentioning, yo-yo up and down. She, even as a kid, struggled with her weight, had a sister who had the perfect body and all of
mm,
the things and really didn't have to work at it. And so it created this voice in her mind of that she was always comparing her body to her sister's body. And even
mm,
today she does. And they have like a weird um, relationship about, they can't talk to each other about weight loss hardly, or like if
mm.
one of them loses weight, I'm the middle person. Like they usually like tattle on each other to me. So then they're like, has your mom lost weight? Or I'm wondering if she's been on some kind of a diet. And I'm like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
Like, and also,
Yeah.
like, who cares? Like, I don't care what size anyone is. And so, yeah. And
No,
so
it's
I
so
think,
loaded. It's so
yes,
loaded.
yes,
It's like you can't talk about this. You're allowed to talk about
yeah,
that. You can't do this. It's like
yeah,
there's so many unspoken rules, like on
yeah,
both sides. It's yeah.
yes. And like my mom, I remember her going through this phase where she went on, like, she had this like lettuce craving where she was eating heads of lettuce. She was,
Oh my
yeah,
God. This might be one of the weirdest ones I've heard because
yes,
I've heard it all. That is so
yeah,
weird.
like head like an apple. Like she was craving dirt.
Oh, she was craving it?
The way that, like, she didn't actually want to eat dirt, but the
Oh,
way that she, like, the way dirt smells, she, like, that's what she was craving. And the only thing that would satisfy it were heads of lettuce,
oh my gosh. That's
iceberg
so interesting.
lettuce. And she would buy it, wash it, and just like, I remember as a kid, she would be on, like, sitting on the couch
Yeah.
eating a head of lettuce.
Oh my God. That's so bizarre.
It's like, what? So anyway, she ended up having like a mineral deficiency.
Yeah, I
It
was
was,
gonna say it sounds like some sort of deficiency.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Her doctor was like, you just need to take this vitamin.
Yeah.
So in thinking about that, like as a woman, like as a kid, were you body positive? Were
Mm,
you like, what was it like in your home as far as like, I had a mom who struggled with her weight. So then she tried to be really conscious about what I ate and like all those things. So
yeah.
what was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, it's so interesting, and this is why I'm on such a, like, maniacal mission.
Yeah.
My mom did a really good job, actually.
Mm,
Like, she did a really good job of trying to impart healthy eating and
yeah.
healthy body image, and I still got
Mm,
so much messaging and conditioning and programming from our culture. So
yeah.
it's like, I think we have to really be more conscientious than my mom was,
Hmm.
and I think she did better than probably a lot of moms because I hear these stories all the time, right? Like,
Hmm.
my mom sent me to Weight Watchers when I was 8, or my mom was always on a diet, or my mom
Yeah.
was, we didn't have sweets in the house.
Hmm.
So I think my mom did a decent job of teaching us balance and teaching us, like, what was healthy, what wasn't healthy, which of course is totally subjective.
Yeah.
Um, but, she never had to watch her weight, like, ever
Hmm.
until, like, menopause.
Yeah.
Um, and then she did, and so it's kinda funny because we would do, like, the crazy diet things together when I was in my, like, 20s or
Uh-huh.
later 20s, later 20s, and she was, like, in her late 40s, 50s,
Mhm.
which, the fact that that's, like, acceptable is so screwed up.
Yeah.
We were both like, trying to eat 800 calories, 900 calories a day.
Yes.
So I think she did a good job, but it's like our society overruled with the messaging that we get as women, like,
Mhm.
and we all get it,
Yeah.
it's like you can't come out unscathed because it's like the air that we breathe, like
Mhm.
our bodies equal our worth,
Yes.
and I had so many different careers. Like, I was a yoga teacher, and if you're a yoga teacher, you're supposed to be a little like yoga teacher waif.
Yeah.
And I was also a drug rep, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of like body image connected to like your success in that industry. So
Mhm.
it's everywhere, and it's hard to escape it unless you actively work on it and
Yeah.
actively try to heal it, because again, yeah, it's like the air that we breathe in. I'm saying that, and I want you guys, like your listeners, to know that like it's not your fault. Like it's
Mhm.
really important that we that you guys believe me that
Yeah.
it's not your fault. It really isn't. It's the air
Mhm.
that you breathe. And so if you have kind of a screwed up relationship with your body, or there's a lot of food chatter, or you don't weigh what you want to weigh,
Mhm.
it's really not your fault. Like it
Mhm.
really truly isn't. And you're not broken. Like that
Yes.
is something that I have to like scream and yell at my clients. I want to like shake
Mhm.
them. Like you
Yes.
are not broken. Nothing is wrong with you. This is
Mhm.
just what we've inherited by living in the culture that we live in.
Mhm.
So,
And what do you think is the most damaging culturally, like cultural thing? Like, do you think it is social media? Do you think it is magazines, TV, like all
yeah.
of it, expectations, the way that men treat women as far as bodies go and what they consider beautiful and what women consider beautiful? And do you think it's just ingrained like at a young age?
Yeah, I think what's so dangerous and
Mhm.
damaging is that it's like it's everywhere.
Yes.
Like it's absolutely everywhere and you
Mhm.
don't even really notice it
Yeah.
because it's so normal. It's
Mhm.
so normalized. Like I hear people talking, right? It's normal to critique the way that we look.
Yep.
It's normal to try on 17 different outfits.
Mhm.
It's normal to, talk I have had so many conversations with so many girlfriends over the years about what we're eating, what we're not eating.
Yep.
Oh, we can't go to this event because we don't look good enough, or
Mhm.
better slim down before the vacation, right? It's
Mhm.
just seeped in everything day to day.
Yes.
So,
And it can become an obsession. Like, I know when my dad got really sick in 2016 through 2018, I went on this huge health journey where I was really disgusted with myself because I had
mm,
got horrible habits. I was like, oh, my dad's sick, so I'll just do whatever I
oh,
want. And I
yeah.
just let go of everything. I was like, I'll eat whatever I want. I'll drink whatever I want. I'll, exercise or not. I'm just going to do it all. And I ended up really this self like
Mm,
loathing about my body. So
yeah.
then I started this program that was clean eating. I did this detox that was like 3 days of it torture and detoxing everything out of my body at the same time. I remember laying in Ryan's bed and being like reading him a story to go to bed. And I was like, I feel like death, like literally. And so I was like, can you read, buddy? And so he ended up reading his own bedtime story because I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
And then, but because there were so many anti-inflammatory foods and because it was such a detox and such a like huge lifestyle shift, it was a very strict following certain things, all good things, but I could never stray. And so
Mm,
then I ended up in the best shape of my life, like doing
mm,
consistent workouts every day that were, only like 12 to 14 minutes. And then because it was consistent and the right things, and because I was eating the right things, I dropped weight like crazy, not extreme to where it was unhealthy, but like my body completely changed.
mm.
The part that was hard for me was it wasn't sustainable long term.
Yeah. I literally was just taking notes because it's like
Yes.
all or nothing, right? Like that's what we're
Yes, I could
taught.
never do anything else. And so I would even like what you were saying earlier, I about going out to eat, I would even right if someone asked us to go out to eat, I would panic
Yeah.
because I didn't know what I could have besides a salad. And I would actually go on their online menu. I would scan it, look for quinoa usually. I would look for quinoa. I would look at the gluten-free options, all this stuff. And like, unless I did like a whole game plan, like God forbid
Yeah.
they want to go to B-Dubs and get wings. Like I was
Yeah.
like, what will I get there? What will I even get there? I can't have wings.
Yeah, I'll
So
have
then I
some
would,
celery, please.
oh my God. And literally, and my friends were so annoyed with me. They're like,
Yeah.
have a wing. Like, this is ridiculous. I
Yeah.
can't got to eat something. So anyway, it's just not sustainable. And so when I think about those things and, with girls, it's like with your daughter who's 7, right? Is she
Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
So how do you set that example that like you grew up with a great example? So how do you instill in her that body positivity, knowing that,
Yeah.
like you were saying, it's around us constantly, that we
Yeah.
can't do anything about that every pop star or model or whatever is skinny. Like
Yeah.
most of them are really skinny and have a certain like tall body type who I'm
Yeah.
a short girl.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't have legs like that. Like I
Yeah.
just don't. And so now I'm very comfortable in my body and all of that. And obviously, like, I think there's a difference between, yes, you can love your body and all of that and still want to improve in certain areas, but
Yeah.
also not torture yourself about it. So what do you do with your
Yeah.
daughter to
Okay.
change that?
Oh my God, there's so many good nuggets in what you just said. Yeah, so like one thing I just want to call out real quick is like you can totally love your body. You can even love the way that your body looks. I think they're two different things.
Mhm.
Loving your body is one thing and loving the way your body looks is another thing.
Yeah.
And you can totally love your body, you can totally love the way your body looks and still want to change it. It's like
Mhm.
any relationship, right? It's like I'm
Yeah.
working on my parenting.
Yes.
Like I love my kids, like
Mhm.
but I do wanna become a better parent. That doesn't mean I don't love my kids,
Exactly.
obviously, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so the
That's a great
same can
example.
be true for
Yeah.
your body and the way that you treat your body.
Mhm.
But for my daughter, like, people will ask me, like, "Oh, can you come teach a workshop on, like, how to teach our daughters to have a healthy body image or to have a healthy relationship with food?" And I'm like, "Sure, totally can do that." But the real workshop is helping the moms to figure out what is right for them,
Mhm.
helping them to heal their relationship with food and their bodies first and foremost, because then you just, like, naturally pass it down. Like,
Yes.
it's just lip service if I give you,
Mhm.
like, a thing to say, and I will give you some things to say,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit like lip service. It's like when I had that moment in the mirror when my daughter was 6 weeks old, it's like even then I knew I could probably say the right things because I was
Mhm.
so studied in
Mhm.
in all of nutrition and body. Like I knew everything about it because I had been struggling with it for so long. So I knew I could say the right thing, but I knew that she was going to be 7 years old and
Mhm.
catch me turning away from my husband in the kitchen when he inevitably went to like, grab my ass or whatever. Like, or like she'd see me try on 17 different outfits before the dinner, like, because
Yes.
nothing looked good. Or she would hear me make a comment to my friend because I hadn't cleaned that up yet. Right.
Mhm.
So I knew that I had to heal it on the root level because I
Yes.
knew I couldn't control, like, I knew she'd catch me looking at myself with disgust or just a side eye. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's really like the ask of the
Mhm.
people that are listening is like, go on this healing journey for yourselves. And then you
Mhm.
won't even have to ask the question, how do I help my daughter with this? You will just naturally do it. It's like, think about something, Melissa, that like you are really strong and convicted in,
Mhm.
right? It's like maybe you really know your beliefs around God or religion or marriage or how to treat strangers, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to think about, like, okay, how do I teach my kid how to be around strangers? How do I teach
Yes.
my kid how to be in a loving relationship, right?
Mhm.
With a partner, it's like you just know it on such a deep level that
Mhm.
it's easy for you to translate it to your
Yes.
kiddos.
Yes.
And so that's what happens for me. It's just like the other day, my son, he's like, "Mama, why don't you ever eat any yummy treats? Like, why don't you?" Oh, he goes, "Why don't you like yummy treats?" I was like, "I do like yummy treats, but like yummy treats do not like me. Like, I don't
Mhm.
feel good
Mhm.
when I eat whatever he was eating at the time, which I think I can't even remember what it was. It was like jelly beans or something.
Yeah.
And I chose not to have them.
Yeah.
And I just was honest with him. Like that's
Mhm.
the honest truth is like
Yeah.
doesn't feel good in my body.
Mhm.
And so some actual tactics are like you can just ask your kids like how
Mm.
does it feel in your body? What is it
Mhm.
like for you? Like they do taste good for me, but afterwards I don't feel that great. And so just asking a lot of open-ended questions will help your kids find their own answers because I think that's really the best gift we can give them is to like be able to hear their own inner voices, their intuition, their
Yes.
bodily cues, their hunger cues, their sated cues, really. That's what I think is like some of the best gifts that we can give them. And not being freaked out. Like a lot of my clients before they really do my program, they're freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to like not eat sugar. And then I'm going to like have to tell my daughter that I'm not eating sugar." And it's like, you could totally tell her you're not eating sugar if you want to,
Mhm.
or you can connect back to like, why aren't you eating sugar? like
Yes.
most of the time, because we don't
Yes.
do those crazy diets like you were doing inside the
Oh,
Yummy Mummy.
yeah.
There's room for everything that you love. But
Yeah.
my point here is that like when you really know your whys, like I don't eat sugar
Mhm.
because I feel like crap 10 minutes later, an
Yeah.
hour later, the next day. I
Mhm.
don't feel good in my body. I don't feel like myself. I
Yeah.
don't feel vibrant and radiant. I don't feel like I want to show up and do a podcast interview. I feel
Yeah.
sluggish and gross.
Mhm.
And I might not say the word gross to my daughter,
Yeah, I know
but
you would. Yeah.
that's just my truth. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm not a lot of my clients aren't losing weight when they really get down and underneath all of it, they don't want to lose weight to prove their worth, to
Yeah.
earn their value. Like there is something about health and longevity and balancing their
Mhm.
hormones because they want to play pickleball with their grandkids when they're
Yeah.
85 or whatever. It's like when we can find the real whys behind like losing the extra fat on our bodies, if that's what we choose,
Mhm.
it's like there's some honest, aligned truth there, and sharing that with our kids, I think is totally appropriate. It's like my kids aren't like, "Mom, why are you going to bed at 9 p.m.?"
Mhm.
Right? Like they're
Mhm.
not questioning like other other things that I do that are good for my body,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But they do question it because our culture is so screwy around food and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah.
And I do think, like, this it might be a little controversial, but, like, I do think having some healthy restriction
Mhm.
around food is appropriate. We have
Yeah.
healthy restriction around our sleep, the way that we drive, the way that we respond to our boss when they move up the deadline, the way that we parent, right? Like, I am not
Yes.
saying everything I wanna say to my kids when they are not behaving the way I want them to
Yeah.
behave, right? I'm restricting myself in healthy ways
Yes.
because I want a certain relationship with my kids, because I don't wanna get a ticket on the freeway,
Mhm.
because I wanna keep my job. Like, anything that your audience, that you guys as listeners have created in your life, there has been healthy restriction. We're just taught that when it comes to food, we're taught one or the other, that,
Yeah.
like, we should go on these crazy detoxes and, like, not eat a
Yeah.
chicken wing, or we're taught, like, we should be able to eat whatever we want whenever we want. Like, I really had to mourn the the
Yes.
loss of, like, that idea, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Laura, like, I can't actually have the health and, like, well-being and body that I want and
Yes.
eat whatever I want whenever I want." Like,
Right.
it just I had to grieve that and, like, have a
Yes.
funeral for that idea.
Yes.
And that was actually really freeing and
Yeah.
relieving in the end. So,
Yes.
anyways, there's a lot there, but
Yeah.
I could keep talking, but I'm gonna, like, shut myself up so you can talk.
No, you're good. No, I love that you have so much good insight. And, really it's like I met with some girls on Sunday and we were doing a workshop, and this leader, so it was a Girl Scout troop. So this is very common for occasionally a Girl Scout troop to reach out to me and see if I'll come in and do a workshop on them, because Girls Positivity Club, we go so much deeper, and
Oh,
it's not about, earning a badge or whatever. It's like we go deep on things and they do creative activities and all of that. And not bashing Girl Scouts at all, but it's just a totally
yeah.
different, thing. And so, I mean, similar but different. And we all have our own way of doing things. And so she was like, these girls in fifth grade are really needing someone to talk to them about their bodies, about self compassion, about
Mm,
loving themselves, and all these things. They're in an intermediate school. And so, it's like that middle school culture. And what ended up coming out of that conversation is that they're already having that self talk
mm,
about, if I eat the cookie, they're going to call me a big
mm,
back, which is a
mm.
whole thing. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, it just basically means you're fat. But
Oh,
instead of saying fat, they say big back at this school. And so then this led to a whole conversation. I'm like, well, and there was a girl in the group, and she, had a bigger build than other girls. There were a couple girls who had a bigger build. And then there
mm,
were, everybody has their own build. And I was like, your bodies are all unique. There's no one else like you.
mm.
And we've got to also know that you don't have to be skinny to be healthy. You don't
Yeah.
have to look a certain way to be healthy. And so they were like, Yeah, and I was like, and also you can have a cookie. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to deprive yourself of
Yeah.
not having a cookie. Now, are you going to have a cookie for every meal of every day of your life? No, because that's not, like you were
Yeah.
saying, there has to be some kind of restraint at some
Yeah.
point. It's not like you're eating 20 cookies at every meal, because that's going to have a
Yeah.
detrimental effect on your health and all that. And so, and they got that, and they were like, and this one girl was like, yeah, at home, I eat salads, I eat fruit, I eat like really, really healthy. And when I go to school, I kind of let loose a little bit, and I might have the cookie, or I might have the pizza, or whatever it is. And she's like, but I know about myself that I take care of myself at home. I thought this is so insightful. And she was
Yes.
like, when I go to school, that's my time to just like be casual about it and get whatever.
Oh, I love that.
And the other girls were like, and she goes, and then people look at me and say something about, well, I'm going to get a salad because I don't want to be a big back. And she's like, I know they're joking about it. And she's like, I actually hate that my friends all say that. And so we
Mm.
talked about even having the courage to say something and be like, you guys, we can eat a salad, but we can also have cookies. Like, we don't have to do one or the other. And then this led to,
Exactly.
yeah, and this led to a whole conversation about, I was like, do any of your friends not eat?
Mm.
And they were like, yeah, I have some friends that never eat, and they just say that they don't. I'm like, why do they say, are they just not hungry? Because I also, there are times when you've got to listen to your body too. And you're like, I had a big breakfast. I'm
Mhm.
really not that hungry. But the way the girls were describing it, it was like, no, they were doing that because they don't want to be a big back.
Yeah. Oh, that's heartbreaking. It's
And
so sad.
so, yeah, I was like, and all the girls were talking. And then this other girl who had a bigger build too, she was like, and none of these girls were what you would say overweight or anything. They just had different builds. Like, and even
Yeah.
if you do have a little bit of extra whatever, like, I don't know, it's just such a whole thing. And she was like, yeah, this one boy said, you look like you eat 32 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. And then, but
Mm.
your friend looks like she just eats one. And I was like, and what did that feel like? And she was like, terrible. Like, I just
Mhm.
felt like I didn't know why he said that to me, because I don't even eat that many cookies. And it just like
Mm.
opened this whole like self-talk thing of like, yes, people are going to say things that we can't control, and we've got to teach our girls to have that inner strength
Yeah.
to be like, well, he's a jerk, and I really don't even care what he thinks of me. And
Exactly.
then this turned into a whole thing about this other culture that they have at their school, where they will get stopped in the hallway and get roasted. And the girls were saying that you have to always have comebacks ready to go, because you never know when someone's going to like challenge you to a roast battle, and how sometimes it can be about their bodies, or it can be about anything. And I was like,
Mm.
but what would you do? Like, what would happen if you just didn't do it? And they're like, well, you would just get roasted more. And I'm like, but what if you all decided as a group, there are 8 of you here. Like, what if you all decided we're just not going to respond? And what if 8 more girls did that, and 8 more girls? And they were like, well, they probably stopped doing it. And I'm like, yes. So you don't have to, like, does
Mm.
it really matter that that kid is challenging you to a roast? And so what? You didn't have good enough comebacks. And like, what
Oh my
then?
god.
You're always supposed to have a comeback and be like 3 steps ahead. Like, they're
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah,
so anxiety producing in
oh
a
my
world
God.
where we have enough to be super
Yes.
anxious about, you know? Oh, you are doing amazing work in the world, Melissa.
Well, thank you. But it
No,
was
but
just like
seriously.
so eye-opening to be like, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And
It's
yeah, and you can also say something to your friends, because that middle school age, especially, they're so afraid of telling their friends the truth,
mm,
because
yeah.
they're so afraid they'll leave them. There's this major fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
And I've heard it at different schools, different places in the country. Like, it doesn't matter. They're at that age, they are terrified of being abandoned by their friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's scary. It's a primal need,
Mhm.
right? To
Yeah.
fit in, to belong. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. And their brains are still developing. But I think what you're getting at too is like this idea of choice. And that's like
Yes.
what I love to teach my clients is like, you get to choose whatever you want and put
Yes.
it through the filter of you. There's so much external noise about what you
Mhm.
should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the real work is just asking ourselves. And I think that's the best gift we can like give our girls is the ability to trust their intuition, to trust their gut and to follow it.
Mhm.
But it's a tall order
Yes.
when we're living in a culture where, you're getting roasted in the hallway out of nowhere.
I know.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I mean, it was so shocking to me too because this is even I don't know. I think there's such a stereotype sometimes with like, oh, it must be this certain type of school. No, this
Mhm. Yeah.
your average,
I believe it. Oh,
school. It's not like it was a rough school. It's not like it was known for, rough kids or anything like that. And I think there's such a misconception about how you can have what looks like on the outside a very put together community of kids, and then these things still happen. And it's not to scare anyone, but it's also to just make them aware that they need to be able to talk about these things. And like you were saying, it's about teaching them that inner voice
mm,
of, do I feel like a salad today? Like, do I need that? Like,
yeah.
do I feel like I've been eating kind of junky and I just need to? I mean, there are days where I'm like, I don't think I've had anything green today.
Yeah.
So, and there are certain days where I'm like, oh well. And then other days where I'm like, no, I feel better when I have my quinoa or when I have my, whatever, but not obsessing about it. And like, even my husband was like, my mom hated it when you were on that diet because
Oh,
I brought my own food to
yeah.
every function. I would not eat anything else. I would bring my own food. I would ask ahead of time, what the menu was and all this. And if it wasn't things that I felt like I could eat, because I had such anxiety about food, I would
Yeah.
bring my own dishes because of
Oh,
that.
yeah, that
And
is torture. That is a trap.
yeah,
That's exactly
yeah.
one of the traps, and
Uh-huh.
I get so many clients who are, like, afraid to tell their friends and family that they're doing the yummy mummy
Yeah.
because they're afraid their friends and family are gonna interpret the yummy mummy as, like, some sort of crazy diet,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're on another crazy diet?" Like, "Oh
Right.
god, here we go again, always
Yes.
something," but it's not
Yes.
gonna work,
Yeah.
and all the other things didn't work, yeah. So I get a lot of clients that are like, "I'm just not telling anybody," and I'm like, "That's it's totally fine. You don't
Yeah.
have to tell anybody."
No, and you don't have to make a big announcement, and you
Yeah,
also don't have to stress about it. And like, I've heard some people say too, like, I think we need to teach our girls that they can show up at a function, at a birthday party, and they can not have to be stressed about it. And there's this whole thing. I don't know if your daughter's ever done this or if you've had this experience yourself, but the other thing is when there are girls that have certain body types naturally to where they're naturally thin or
yeah,
they're naturally tall or whatever it is, those girls who are clearly not overweight making negative comments about their bodies around other girls that may have a little bit more weight or
yeah.
might be built a lot differently, or girls like pinching parts of their body. I
Mhm.
remember when I was younger, like, I was so worried about being a certain size, and like I didn't want to go up above this certain size. And I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but like I would check the sizes when my friends were, let's say, in the other room, and I didn't know if I was like a close size to them. This sounds so messed up.
Oh my god, I did the same freaking
Check their
thing.
Did
Oh
you
my
check their size?
check their size, check
Yes.
their bra size.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because it goes back to
Mhm.
the fitting in and belonging,
Yes. And then
and
it
it's
was like,
like,
mhm,
it's so yeah, it is,
crazy.
and again, we can't, like, beat ourselves up
Of course.
because, it's totally normal, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally can see what you're saying because there are girls that'll make comments, and then other girls are gonna internalize the comments
Mhm.
and make it mean something about them and what they look like. It's yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the work really is like healing our and I say heal
Yeah.
and also it's a practice. It is a
Mhm.
lifelong
It
practice
is.
to work on your relationship with yourself, with
Mhm.
food and your body. Just like I think of like my marriage as a practice. Like it
Yes.
is a lifelong practice. Like
Mhm.
we are practicing being married to each other for the
Mhm.
rest of our lives, probably, most likely.
Yeah.
And it's the same is true for your relationship with your health and your body,
Mhm.
and we're not taught that we should spend time nurturing our relationship with our body, nurturing
Mhm.
our relationship with food, and nurturing our relationship with our health. Like, and I really believe that it should be like brushing your teeth. Like we brush our teeth every single day so that
Yes.
our teeth don't fall out of our face. And it's like
Mhm.
the same should be true for your health. Like you should check in. Well,
Yeah.
you should do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But my recommendation is that you do check in. Like, are you where
Yeah.
you want to be? Like,
Mhm.
is your future self, your highest self, like super psyched out of their mind because you're making choices to support them, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where we're teaching them how to have that inner voice about their bodies, and by modeling it, like you were saying, like if we want to, yes, we love our kids and we're not perfect parents, and same thing, like I think that I know I have a friend who her daughter walked in on her basically body shaming herself, and
Mm,
you can ignore it or you can repair. And I think
mm,
even when we as women can admit to our daughters and to the girls in our life that, like, yeah, there are times when I feel super bloated or I don't like how a certain outfit looks or whatever. And so, I still can love my body and not love every moment
yeah.
too. And that still be okay. And then,
I love that. Like, show them that, like, you are a work in progress and your
yeah,
relationship and the way that you talk to yourself is a
yeah,
work in progress. Like,
hmm,
yes, I mean, that's really the best gift we can give our
hmm,
kids is that, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. This is something I'm working on.
yes,
And just because I made a mistake doesn't mean I'm wrong or bad. Like,
yes,
that's actually the best gift I think we can give our kids because if we
for
don't
sure.
show them that we're making mistakes, they could get the message that we're perfect, and then they're really gonna be screwed up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think too, it's like even with exercise, not viewing it as a punishment to yourself, or like, if I want to eat fill in the blank later, I better exercise for an hour, or I better,
Yes.
whatever, and not teaching our girls that if they want to have a cookie or a biscuit or whatever, that they have to, because I used to think that like I had to work it off first or work
Oh
it
my
off
god.
later.
That is,
Yeah.
like, the most freedom that I felt from doing this work is, like, I no longer punish myself or,
Yes.
like, have to earn the
Yes.
weekend, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it is so freeing to
Mhm.
be able to have my head hit the pillow at night and I haven't worked out and I don't beat myself up for it.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
joke, like, I think I became a yoga teacher just so I could, like, work out more because that was, like, during my dieting days, and I was like, "You gotta get 2 in. You gotta do 2 a days," like,
Mhm.
so
I did the
anyways.
same thing. I did the same. I taught fitness classes. I did
Oh, yeah, I think
like
I
a
knew that.
drumming class. Yeah, I did like a drumming class called Pound Fitness, and I loved it because I love dance and all that. And it was drumming. It actually helped
Oh,
me.
that sounds so fun.
Oh, it was so fun. It actually helped me release a lot of like
Oh, I bet.
anger and anxiety, because that's right when my dad was getting to the end to where
Mm,
he got, really bad, and I was angry about it because he was such a health nut, and like ate the flaxseed on his oatmeal and the fish oil pills and the made
mm,
sure that he didn't do this and that. But sometimes there's still things out of your control. And I think that's why I was so obsessed at that time, because I needed control over something because my dad's health felt very out of control.
mm,
And I think that's why I got so obsessive about it. And then it created these unhealthy habits in myself where I would weigh myself and I would freak out if, I
mm.
weighed more, but I hadn't pooped that day, or I
Right.
hadn't, I was bloated or I was whatever. And I think another thing to really teach our girls is like, you can weigh one thing one day and maybe you haven't pooped. And
Yeah.
then the next day you weigh 5 pounds less, or the next day, like I was so obsessed with weighing myself and like, oh no, I'm at this weight. And I was here the other day, like I've got to make up for it in some way. And so it's
Yeah.
like teaching them that that is messed up.
Super messed up. It's like it's all the meaning that we make this
Yeah.
scale. Like,
Hmm.
it's just the meaning. Like, imagine taking your blood pressure and you don't have a blood pressure issue, which, I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
your listeners don't, right? It's
Hmm.
like you take your blood pressure today, it's going to be 110/70 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just goes in one ear and out the other. Like, not a
Hmm.
big deal. You
Yeah.
take it tomorrow, it's like 90/60. One ear, in one ear, out the other. Like, there, it doesn't touch you
Yeah.
because we're not making any meaning out of it. We're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay, good to know," right?
Yeah.
And with the scale, we're attaching so much. It goes back to worth and value. Like, "Oh
Yes.
my god, I must be a failure. What's wrong with me? Something's actually wrong with me." Like,
Mhm.
it there's so much meaning that we attach as women in this culture to the
Yeah.
number on the scale, and a lot of people will recommend like throwing the scale off like the top of the mountain, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, the scale is a beautiful mirror to see what are you thinking about yourself and
Mm,
how can we switch that, because that's a choice. Like if you haven't pooped one day and you're up 2 pounds and then you make that number mean that you are a failure, you suck at life, or something's wrong with you, that's optional. You don't
yeah.
actually have to think that thought anymore. You can actually change that. This is what I teach my clients. It goes
Yeah.
back to what you said at the beginning. You're like, "Oh, I'm just like not going to look in the mirror. I'm just going to turn my head
Mhm.
away." But it doesn't mean, or if you don't weigh yourself, if you do throw the scale off the mountaintop, which you totally can, right? Like
Yeah.
do you. But there are thoughts that are in your subconscious that are playing out. It's like, I always think of it like as like Marie Kondoing our brain. Like the scale asks us to do that if we want to do that work. It's like, think about that. Like right now, actually, I have this drawer in my bathroom that's gotten a little unruly. It's gotten a little messy, and
Mhm.
it's like at me. It's like it's
Mhm.
bugging me. And I know when I go clean that drawer out this weekend, I am going to be like cartwheeling through my house. Like I'm going to be like skipping, and I'm going to be so happy, so light, because
Yes.
it's like clean. And the same is true for our brain and our thoughts. It's
Mhm.
like we are playing out these negative self-talk, these kind of shamey thoughts
Mhm.
under the surface without seeing them. So I actually ask my clients to confront themselves. Like, you're not scared of the scale, you're not
Yeah.
scared of the mirror, you're scared of the meaning you're going to make. You're scared of what
Yes.
you're going to think about yourself, and you can upgrade that. So it's actually a beautiful invitation to change the script and to actually love yourself, because the number does not equal your worth or your good enoughness or whatever, and neither does the mirror.
Mhm.
So it's like can be a really empowering practice. And again, it's a practice.
Yes. And what do you say for them to replace it?
Okay, well, I mean, it depends like
Yeah.
what you would think about yourself. So
Yeah.
say you're up 2 pounds
Yeah.
because maybe there's extra poop in your body, or
Yeah.
you haven't pooped, or
Yeah.
maybe you had
Um,
sushi last night, super
yeah.
salty,
Yeah.
or maybe you ate a bunch of food and you like, your body's a little heavier today.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That
also
happens.
totally neutral, like
Right. Right.
not a big deal.
Mhm.
Um So, what I would ask them to do is first find the thoughts that they're thinking, like, oh my God, this is never going to work. I suck. What's wrong with me? And
Mhm.
then I would ask them to not necessarily do a 180, because
Yeah.
that's what people think, like, oh, she's going to make me think, like, no, I'm the most worthy soul on the universe, or like, I'm freaking amazing, or I'm, Taylor Swift, or what, like, I don't know. What I'm going to ask you to do is just question those thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, are you a failure? Like, does that number mean that you suck? Like,
Yeah.
what is actually, it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like, what's
Yeah.
actually going on here? Oh,
Yes.
what's actually going on is I haven't pooped. What's actually going on is like, I am overestimating the amount, like, if you are on a weight loss journey, because like my clients typically are on a weight loss
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you just
Mhm.
a lot of my clients just overestimated how much weight they could lose in a week, because they still have their diet brains that is telling them that they should lose 5 or 3 pounds a week. And it's like, no, you should lose a pound or
Yeah.
2 pounds a week max. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I always say it's like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like the way the scale goes, it's not linear. It doesn't go
Mhm.
straight down, right? It
Mhm.
goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But over time, it goes down. And so it's really learning to have your own back and to trust the process and
Mhm.
to replace those thoughts. And I always love to ask my clients, like, how do you want to feel today? Like,
Mhm.
wake up and think about that. Like, you can do this as like a listener. Like, wake up. Usually, most days now, I wake up, I feel really good. There is no way in hell that I'm going to let a little box take away my zest for the day, or my
Yeah.
radiance for the day, or my energy, or my however I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like my
Mhm.
lightness, my excitement. Yeah, I'm like a very excitable person, you guys. So like maybe for you it's like calm, maybe for you it's like peaceful, but whatever. It's like I'm not going to let this little square metal or glass box take that away from me. I just want to get
Yes.
some information. It's
Yeah.
actually good information if you're trying to lose weight. Like,
Yeah.
yes, can you go get certain scans, but they're not available for you at your house. It's actually a good indicator if you are creating what you want to create, if that is fat off of your body. Like it
Yeah.
actually will tell you over time. And so it's like, okay, if I want to feel calm today, or I want to feel excited today, what can I think in order to feel that regardless of what the scale says? Like,
Yes.
oh, it's just a number. This is just data. The scale, like a lot of my clients love this one. Like the scale always catches up. If I eat in a way that honors my future self and isn't aligned with my goals and the energy levels and the health level of the health that I want to create, the scale will catch up. It will eventually go down. Like I'm choosing
Yep.
to trust the process.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I could go on and on about that
So
because
good.
it really is a good playground.
I love it. I love it so much. And like you said, working on themselves as listeners is going to help their daughters. And I think the other thing too, just to close out, is like not being afraid to talk to them about it.
Exactly. It's not like a dirty or bad thing. Like my kids
Yeah.
are little, right? They love
Yeah.
weighing themselves. They think it's so fun. They love gaining weight. That's how you know
Yeah.
that weighing yourself is a totally neutral activity until you
Yes.
have a thought about it, and your thoughts
Yes.
are choices. You can upgrade them at any point.
Mhm.
So, I really think like it's an empowerment tool. It
Yeah.
really truly is. Like, don't let that little box have or rectangle, whatever you want to call it, have any power over you. Like you're
Mhm.
in charge of your day and your feelings. So
I love
yeah.
that so much. Well, if they would like to learn more about what you do and they're like, she is speaking my language, I want to be part of the Yummy Mummy community. I want to follow her, listen to her podcast. What are some ways that
Yeah.
they can keep in touch with you and
Yeah,
follow
of
you and
course.
learn from you? Because you're such a great resource.
Oh, you're so sweet, Melissa. So are you.
Thanks.
So we have your confident tip sheet on our fridge. I
Good.
caught my daughter reading it like without me shoving it down her throat the other day, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
I love this." So I just put
good.
it up.
Oh,
Anyways,
good.
you can go listen to my podcast, which is Lose Weight for the Last Time with Laura Conley. And I just actually recorded a class yesterday that I have been pouring my heart and soul into. And this class is like 6 months, like it's like my 6-month program distilled
Mm,
down into 1 hour. So if you want to
wow.
go get that class, it's called How to Weigh What You Want Without Doing Shit That You Hate. And that's like what I wanted for 20 years. It took me
Yes,
20 years to crack the code. So that's at lauraconley.com/class. And my name is LauraConley. You can always go to lauraconley.com. And my Instagram is Laura Conley Coaching. So that's like pretty much the scoop.
I love it. And her podcast is so good. I've listened to it and you just feel you feel like you're chatting with a girlfriend and it's
Mm,
just there are takeaways every time. And so, yeah, it would be a really good one to listen to as well. And obviously you poured your heart into everything. And I love the place that you come from. Just having women have those conversations that they have been battling for years and just doing it in such a great, empowering way. And,
mm.
and she's got the best energy and her stories are really good too. So, and
Oh
her
my God.
coach. Your Yummy Mummy Minute, I love.
Oh my
So,
God. I
yeah,
love you.
yeah,
Okay.
I love you
Well,
too.
Melissa, you're the best. Okay. Well,
Well,
thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for listening, you guys. This is like, I'm like beaming, like my cheeks hurt from talking to you.
well, thank you for being here. And, really, you listening, like all we want to do is help you raise these confident girls. And this is something for you to think about and another way to empower them. And so, thank you for listening. And thanks, Laura, for being here.
Oh, you're the best, Melissa. Have.
Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.